Big snore. Big snore. Calm. That's a good girl. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing just a really chill trying new makeup with you guys. I have a ton of new makeup here that I want to try. I want to say thank you to everyone for the sweet words about Nala. I can't talk about it because I will cry, but I had the flu about 10 days ago. Then I had to put down my dog of 14 years. And then my other dog got sick. He's on antibiotics. They're saying he's depressed. It's been a whole mess. So I haven't felt like me for about 2 weeks now. I have missed makeup. A lot of this stuff I bought right before I got hit with like that shit storm of just stress. And it's just been really tough. But you guys supporting me, unbelievable. I can't talk about it because I'll cry. So anyways, I want to say thank you to you guys. I want to get back into filming. Makeup makes me happy. I've missed it. And I'm excited to just sit down, try a bunch of new products, and tell you guys my thoughts. So I do have the new Pat McGrath concealer as well as the powder. So I picked these up from Sephora. I definitely want to try these out on camera, see what we think. I also have the new lilac palette from Huda Beauty. I have all three, but I thought this might be a nice just color story to play with. I also have a bunch of the new MAC Glow Play blushes. I bought 3 and then they sent me a bunch. I have this Shiseido Poreless Matte Primer, and I also have a sample of the Estee Lauder Futurist Hydrating Foundation. You guys were asking me my thoughts on this. I got a sample. I've tried it one time, but I want to try it again to kind of get my thoughts. I have a new MAC highlighter. This is from, I forget what this collection was called. They kind of came out with a bunch of stuff. Again, I've been kind of out of the game, so just trying to keep up. I have the Too Faced Sun Puppy Bronzer, really cute. I've used this one time. I have these brushes from Allure or Allery. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I need to actually ask her, but this brush set, holy crap, look how big this is. I mean, this is a big daddy. There's also a sponge, so I'm gonna play with that as well. I have a gloss I purchased from the Jeffree Star, the last collaboration, or not the collaboration, the last release. Wow, if I'm rusty, I apologize. I thought this looked pretty. This is Iridescent Throne, and I thought maybe with the purple, I never really know what I'm going to do with lips. Also have a new Gucci lipstick, have some new Kaja lipstick, so whatever the look calls for. And then I also picked up the Morphe Luminous setting spray. This is one of their new ones. So really just a bunch of new stuff. I think we have a full face essentially. So if you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe, and let's go ahead and jump into the video. So I want to start out with this Shiseido. This is the Waso Poreless Matte Primer. I picked this up off Sephora. The packaging is pretty unique here. I mean, it's just really small. I wonder how much product you actually get in here. 0.73 ounces, so not a ton. It comes out kind of like a green gel. So I already moisturized the skin, but I'm just going to use this in my T-zone. So in terms of mattifying primers, I really like the Smashbox one, the oil and shine control one. Definitely feels matte, but it doesn't feel like it's dragging. Sometimes they can feel like they pill up and they drag. I'm not feeling that. It feels nice and soft. I can definitely feel kind of like a smoothing in there, but we'll have to see how it kind of plays with foundation. I wanted to use this today because the Estee Lauder Futurist is a really hydrating foundation, so I thought I am combo. I do get oily in my T-zone, so I wanted to try this in combination with this. For foundation, I got a sample of this a while ago. I tried it one time off camera, and then I was gonna do a trying new makeup. Of course, my life went completely sideways. So I have it still here that I want to try. I had a few of you ask me about this. This is from Estee Lauder. It's the Futurist Hydrating Foundation. I am a huge lover of the Double Wear, of course. These are completely opposite. Double Wear is, you know, hanging on. It's like paint. That stuff will not come off. This is their hydrating. They do claim it's medium to full coverage. It's a radiant finish, and they do claim 12 hours of wear. Now, when I wore this, again, I only wore it one time, and I did like how it wore. Typically, hydrating or radiant foundations just slip and slide, break up on my skin. in. This didn't do that, but again, I will pin a comment. I know that I forget to pin comments sometimes, and I apologize. So I'm gonna really try to make an effort to pin it. I think what people don't realize is that when you're editing the video, you see yourself saying you're gonna pin a comment, but then you have to export, upload, link, thumbnail, title, and then you're like, oh, I gotta pin it. So when people forget stuff, we're human, we just forget stuff, but I will pin a comment down below. It's a little bit nicer out today. Actually, it's really nice. It's like 60 degrees here, which, I mean, that's like a godsend for us here. So I will let you know how it wears. I don't know the shade I have because it wasn't on the sample pack, which is kind of strange. I think they just forgot. It's very thin, like it will run straight out. So I don't want to tip it over. Now I am going to use on one side this Allure brush. This is a smooth canvas brush. And then they also have a sponge. It looks very similar to a black beauty blender, although it is wet here and it's bigger than that, but it feels very similar. In terms of beauty blender, I like the black ones the best, so I'm hoping to love this. So I thought I would use this on one side, this on the other, or maybe use this all over, this for concealer, whatever we're feeling. So here it is on the back of my hand. It's probably a little bit light, but once we bronze and stuff, it'll be fine. So I'm gonna go in with the foundation brush. Just start applying. Yeah, it's a little light, but I think we're just gonna have to make it work. It's a very thin formula. This brush is pretty dense. It's just like a kind of like an angled kabuki. So I think I actually am going to use the brush for all over, and then I will use the sponge for the Pat McGrath concealer. So I've zoomed you guys in. This is what the foundation looks like. I have to say, again, typically I don't love really hydrating foundations, but this one I find is more flattering than most. It just doesn't seem like it's gunked up. It looks nice and healthy, but from what I remember, I enjoyed it, so we'll have to keep playing around with it. I did use the Allure sponge. God damn, how do I say that? And just to kind of, you know, press everything in, and I like it. It feels really nice and soft. It's not super soft like the Flower Beauty, if you know what I'm talking about, but it's also not dense where you feel like you're like smacking your face. It really does feel very similar to a black beauty blender, but a bigger size. So I'm gonna go in next with the Pat McGrath Labs concealer. I purchased this. This is the Skin Fetish Sublime Concealer. I got the shade LM8. The actual component is a glass a glass unit, which is not very typical. I can think that of like the MAC had a glass concealer. This is very weighted. I don't know if it would be the best for travel, but it does feel expensive, which it, you know, Pat McGrath is an expensive brand. And then when you pull the doe foot out, it's just a little small slanted doe foot. It's not huge like the Tarte Shape Tape or something like that, but just a typical doe foot. I have no idea what to expect in terms of coverage, so I'm just gonna kind of apply it like this. So this is supposed to be a full coverage, natural finish, radiant matte, brightens under eyes, and it hides the appearance of blemishes. That's what it claims. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the sponge. Just blend this out. I feel like I got a pretty good color. I feel like I can tend to get or choose really light colors that are not the right shade for me. So first impression is it does feel quite hydrating, which is nice. Even when I applied it, it doesn't have that kind of whipped moussey feel. It is a little bit thicker, but it feels hydrating, moisturizing. So my first impression is, like I said, it's hydrating. I don't know if I would say full off the bat. I feel like recently I've been having a hard time covering right in there. Just right here where I have a little bit of like a blue, even right in here. Maybe it's because I'm not applying the concealer to the right area. This is a very thick concealer though, but again, it's not whipped, so it's kind of interesting texture. Off the top, I can't really think of a concealer that it reminds me of. The consistency is just a little bit unique. Okay, I feel like that looks a lot better. Maybe I just need to target right on that eye bag and then right in the inner corner. I really actually love this sponge. I mean, to me, it's performing just like a beauty blender, a black one. If you haven't checked them out, I will link them down below. They have really great brush soaps, sponge soaps. They come in like little, kind of like jars, I guess, or containers. They have all different scents. They have unscented, really great. at getting the gunk out of your brushes or your sponges, and now they're doing tools, so I'm excited to see what else they come out with. So here's what the concealer and the foundation look like. I feel like they look really nice. I definitely want to set around my T-zone, really set my whole face for longevity, but also set right here because, you know, I do have pores. It bothers me, the texture right here, but I feel like everything's looking really nice and healthy. This is, I would say it's medium coverage, buildable to full. I might need to start doing a little color correcting just because of the kind of blueness under my eyes, but this built up nicely. It feels nice and creamy, hydrating. I feel like if you have dry under eyes, you will like that just upon my first impression. So I want to go in next with the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish. This is the blurring under eye powder. This is really interesting. Okay, so the packaging on this is cheap. How interesting is that? I feel like it's either hit or miss. Like her eyeshadow palettes are beautiful. Her foundation packaging was beautiful. This concealer packaging is beautiful, but like her primer was really cheap. This is really cheap. I mean, this feels like it could just snap in half. It's kind of a hit or miss. So I got the shade Light. I was a little bit worried about the shade because I didn't know if I should go for light or medium. Obviously this looks white, so I didn't know if it was going to be like white under the eye. I saw Kinky Sweat demo this and the medium, and she could use both, so I thought if she could use the light, then I will be fine with that. So it's an interesting texture. It feels really interesting, like it feels, I don't know, like silicone-y, or like there's some sort of silica in there or something that's really smoothing. So I'm gonna pat out the creases under my eye, and then I'm gonna use a small brush, and we're gonna use this under the eye, see how we like it, maybe pull it down to the pore area. So a lot of powder does kick up. It's very soft. Like I feel like if you drop this, it's going to shatter. I don't know if you can see, like when you touch it, it's just a lot of kick up. So I'm just kind of applying this under the eye. And we're gonna pull it down onto the pore area. The shade is fine for me, like it's not leaving a white cast. Now I don't know about flash, but I typically don't do flash photography. Here in Cowtown, I'm not, you know, paparazzi's not after me or anything like that. So I'm actually gonna use this just to set the T-zone. It's definitely smoothing. It feels very light. I want to say it reminds me almost like a pressed version of the By Terry Hyaluronic Hydra Powder. It's giving me those vibes, like a pressed version, which is a very hydrating, obviously by the name, powder. So I think if you need to set, but you don't like the really heavy, cakey, like the Laura Mercier or the Coty Airspun, those can be very heavy powders for baking. This is more of a minimalist, still gonna set, still gonna give you that smooth look, but I almost barely feel like I didn't set, if that kind of makes sense. So I definitely feel like it's nice and smoothing. This would be a great option upon my first impression for people that you need to set certain areas, maybe your under eye, maybe, you know, creasing around your lip, maybe your chin, but you do not like a heavy powder feel. Okay, so I did my brows off camera. They're not the best, but we're just gonna move on. This is the Huda Beauty Pastels palette. These are the new palettes from her. This is a lilac one. So this is what the inside looks like. I just thought it would be a really nice kind of easy palette to play with. Just do like a springtime look. I'm gonna start off with this shade up here. I'm gonna go ahead and just use this kind of as a transition, although this palette and all of these like palettes from her, these new ones, they're not going to be like super smoky deep palettes. They're kind of just like washoe color palettes just from the swatches. So I have not done eyeshadow for like 2 weeks. I've barely even worn makeup, so kind of rusty. Isn't it interesting how if you don't like practice or like continue your craft, you kind of like forget, at least for me. I wonder if it's like that for like singers or just any kind of, I don't know, artists, anything like that, if they don't continually sing or dance or whatever it is, if they get like rusty. So now I'm gonna go into this shade down here. This one just looks a little bit more purple. Less muted, I guess. This one actually added quite a bit of color. That first one was pretty muted. This one amped it up. But yeah, I do think, I mean, these are the pastel palettes, so I'm kind of like, well, what do I expect? But definitely they're gonna be like sheer washes of color. I don't know if you're gonna be able to get a ton of different kind of diversity just because all the shades are so light. For the lid, I think I'm gonna try this one first and then maybe add a little bit of this one in. Let's swatch this. Yeah, it's very light. I'm gonna mix these two. So these are basically like toppers, so they're not gonna be full metallic pigment. They're kind of gonna come to light when you really blend them in and keep building. So you can see just like one layer is not gonna do much. You're definitely gonna want to really pack these on. I would say probably 3 to 4 layers. It's kind of hard with nails here, but this is dry, by the way, so you could also use them wet. But they're definitely like iridescent, soft metallics. They're not like thick, pigmented, typical metallics you're gonna see in a lot of palettes. So I went ahead and applied liner and lashes. I put on these Flutter lashes in Kitty, and I wanna finish the lower lash line. I'm gonna go back into the palette into that purple deep shade right here, and I'm just gonna smudge it on the lower lash line. I'm gonna go about 3/4 of the way in. And then for the inner corner, I'm gonna use this Metal and Matte Duo from Huda Beauty, and I'm gonna use the shade Froyo. It's just like a light pink. This is just such a light look. I wanna use this right in here, almost connecting it to that purple. So for my waterline, I'm gonna use my Marc Jacobs Pink of Me. I just wanna keep this light. That's the one thing though, you're not gonna be able to build like depth with these eyeshadows. They're just so light. Okay, so now I wanna move on to the face. I need some dimension. I'm gonna go in with my Too Faced Sun Puppy Bronzer. This is limited edition. It's obviously very cute. I've used this one time. I will say that it has a sheen to it. So if you do not like kind of like a glowy bronzer, I wouldn't recommend it. I just kind of swirl around in there. So I'm gonna use this winged complexion brush. If you're any deeper than like a medium skin tone, I don't think it would work for you, which again, see though, you can see that it's showing up on me. It's quite warm. I probably went a little too heavy there. I wish they would do multiple shades of stuff. Even like in this, maybe just 3, you know, like a fair, a medium, and a deep. But you can see like it definitely has a sheen to it. I'm not sure if I'm loving this one because I feel like this one does kind of enhance my texture. Okay, so next I want to go in with blush. I did purchase a few of these new MAC Glow Play blushes. They did send me a few as well. So I have, this is Heat Index. I think I bought that one. They sent me over Cheeky Devil, which looks pink. I think because we have kind of like colorful eyes, even though they're pastel, I'm gonna go in with That's Peachy. They did send this over to me. Beautiful color. I tend to like purples, like cool tone purples with peachy tones. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this IT Cosmetics contour brush. This came in a set. Ooh, she's looking a little rough. I've only used one of these one time. They are that like bouncy texture. They're almost like the Maybelline, I forget what they were called. Dream Bounce, was that it? So you're gonna have to really build these up. So I'm just kind of using a stippling motion. Blush is like one of my favorite things, so I find myself recently like loving blushes and like really wanting to buy like a million. I'm kind of gonna pull this up too. And there's definitely a glow to it. Also gonna put a little bit around my nose. Also for MAC, I have a new Extra Dimension Skin Finish. This is in Postmodern Peach. So this is the lighter. I think they came out with 2. So you can see I already have a glow from that blush. Really, we have the foundation that's kind of hydrating, and then we have the blush that's that Glow Play blush, and even that bronzer. So Just gonna use this to really target highlight. It's a little more subdued than I thought. So I'm just kind of building this up. You can definitely build it, but I feel like this is a really lit from within color. Or not color, formula, which is really nice kind of for the look that we're going for. So for lips, I have this new Kevyn Aucoin Unforgettable Lip Definer in the shade Divine. I'm gonna use this to line my lips. Really, I'm gonna go with a neutral lip. I might play with this Gucci lipstick. I'm not sure if it's gonna be too neutral, so we'll just have to kind of see. I don't think I've ever used Kevyn Aucoin lip liners. Maybe a long time ago. It's nice and creamy. It's a pencil formula, but it doesn't feel dry. So for lips, I was gonna use Kaja or Gucci, but I think I really wanna go in with this Kevyn Aucoin. This is their new lipstick formula, the Unforgettable lipstick in the shade Immaculate. I believe this one is a cream. So they have like cream, I wanna say cream, matte, I can't remember the other one. So I feel like that's a really muted neutral color. I'm gonna go in on top of that with Melon Mimosa. This is a new lip cream from Buxom. Hopefully just to bring a little bit of life. Yeah, it's not really showing up. Okay, last try. This is something I reach for when I want something a little bit more peachy or just more like warm toned and I like a gloss. This is Raw Raw from Marc Jacobs. This is an older one. I think people would probably look at this and be like, wow, that's like orange, but it really helps just add a little bit of a peachy tone. And then lastly, I want to try out this new Morphe Luminous Setting Spray. So this is the newest edition. They have a matte and a luminous and then the original. This one is not a continuous spray, so it's more of just a typical setting spray. So let's apply this and see if it makes us even dewier, even though I really already am pretty dewy. Nice mister. It has a light, I don't know, a light coconut kind of scent. Ooh, I look pretty dewy. All right, guys, here's my finished makeup look. And I want to tell you my thoughts, starting off with the Shiseido primer. I don't know if I notice a super smooth feel. Again, I'll have to see how the matte kind of property plays out throughout the day, although I did douse myself with a lot of dewy products. It does feel similar to the Smashbox Oil and Shine Control, but I still think I prefer the Smashbox. Again, I'll just have to keep using this, but first impression is I didn't notice a lot of smoothing properties, so I don't know if this will become a staple, but I'll have to keep trying it. In terms of the Estee Lauder Futuristic Foundation, I feel like it's very similar to the Lancome Skin Feels Good, if you've ever tried that, but a thinner formula. So the Lancome Skin Feels Good, if I remember correctly, it's a little bit thicker. This one actually like runs down your hand. This is a little bit more smoothing, just less heavy in general. The Lancome one is really kind of, I remember it being a little bit heavy, really beautiful dewy, but not the best for smoothing. This is a little bit more forgiving. I like how I'm holding it up like you know what it is, but I'll link it down below. I like it. I don't know if I'm gonna purchase it full size just because I do tend to like long wearing foundations and then adding a glow in. So I do like it, but I don't know if I would reach for it enough because I just have a feeling that, especially with all the dewy stuff that I used, I just don't feel like my makeup's gonna hang on for 12 hours, which is what I typically look for. In terms of the Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Concealer, I do like it. It's a good medium coverage. You can build it to full. I feel like it's nice and hydrating. I think it's a good release for summer and spring coming up. I think a lot of people that like a more natural look or dry skin will really enjoy this. The number one complaint, well, the top two complaints I see with concealers is that they just enhance, they make your under eyes look really dry and crepey, or that they crease heavily. This does crease, but once you set it, it's fine. So I feel like this is gonna be kind of like a dry skin lover's dream. And I also really like the powder. Again, I think it's very similar to the By Terry. It's just a pressed version. I would use it just really on my T-zone, again, for more natural days. These, well, I guess you could use this for more full glam. This I would use really just for more natural days, like I said, more soft, springy looks like this, because it is very light. It almost feels like you didn't set it. So if you have a hard time, you feel like you gotta set certain areas, but you hate that powdery feel and look, I think you'd really enjoy this. I just wish the packaging was a little bit nicer. Moving on to the Pastels palettes from Huda Beauty. This is the lilac one. I think it's really beautiful. I will say that the 5 mattes in here, I mean, I used the deepest ones, the 2 deepest ones, and I still feel like there's just not going to be a lot of depth. It's very similar to the ColourPop Mint to Be palette, just in terms of you're not going to get a lot of depth. I really wish we would have maybe kind of omitted 2 of these and done a couple more punchy colors, because I feel like this one really saves it. It just really brought out that purple. This one just looked so muted on the eye. Now the shimmers are beautiful, but they are iridescent toppers, very similar to her neon ones. So do not think you're going to get full pigment metallics. These are like layering 3, 4, 5 layers, and then you get that beautiful kind of iridescent shine. So again, I think this is going to be a wash of color with a little iridescent on the lid. You're not going to be able to get, 10 different looks out of this. You're really kind of going to get very similar outcomes out of this. Really pretty, but you have to really like the color story. It is a pastel color story, so just keep that in mind. Moving on to the Sun Puppy bronzer. I do like this. It's a little bit shimmery or satin for my liking. Again, I feel like it just can enhance my texture and kind of make me look a little bit patchy, I want to say, especially around my forehead area. I do wish they would have come out with different colorways. It is absolutely adorable. The packaging is very nice and sturdy, very, very cute. I will use it, but probably more for just like easy days where I just want to sweep it on and go. Definitely not for a full glam look, just because I feel like once that kind of shimmer grabs on, I have a hard time blending it out. I do prefer more of like a matte bronzer, again, and then adding in, dew and shimmer with other products. The blushes from MAC I really, really like. The texture is very similar to like the Bare Minerals. I think they were called, the Bounce and Blur, which is kind of interesting. The Glow Play, the Bounce and Blur, what is it? The Maybelline Dream Cushion. They all kind of have the same, bouncy texture. These are a little bit more bouncy, I want to say, than the Bare Minerals, but this is one of my favorite colors. This is Pink Sky. So I really do like these MAC ones. I love the aesthetic, the packaging, everything about it. To me, this is like a spring release, dead on. They just hit the nail on the head with this. And I think that's why a lot of people are going crazy about them. This I'm not as crazy about as I thought. This Extra Dimension Skin Finish. It's a little bit more subdued than I thought. Again, I really like that beaming highlight if I'm gonna go there. And I don't know, it's just a little bit softer. So if you find yourself liking kind of a in-between, think like a NARS highlighter, you don't like that stripe at all. This is a very light powder. I mean, there's like no kick up in the pan, but you can see it's not crazy intense. You can build it, but you're gonna get kind of an ethereal lit from within glow. Again, a lot of people like this. Not that I don't like it, but this would be a natural everyday. I wouldn't use this on a night out. Don't think you're gonna get like the Nicole Guerrero ABH Glow Kit, which I'm so glad they brought that back, or an Omri Z ABH highlight. This is definitely not that. This is a more subdued, natural, lit from within glow. Really, really impressed with the sponge that I used. I will link this down below, as well as the brushes. Really like this. This is just like a nice slanted, really dense kabuki brush. And then this reminds me of my Sephora brush, this Winged Complexion, where you really use it to kind of, I don't know, contour and bronze all at once. I want to keep playing with these. Standout for me is the sponge. I really, really like it. It's just really very similar to a black beauty blender, but bigger. It just blended everything in really nicely. Also really like the Kevyn Aucoin lip liner. Usually the crayon lip liners are very kind of hard and stiff, sort of like the MAC ones. This has a little bit more give to it. It's a little bit more slidey, but it's not as slidey as like a ColourPop, so you kind of have control. So I do like this. We'll see how the wear is on it. And I really like this lipstick. I was hoping it was going to be a little bit more peachy, but that's just really not the shade that it is. I tend to like I said, peach with the purple eyes, but very creamy, no offensive taste or smell. So I'll keep playing around with this. And then honestly, really impressed with the Morphe Luminous Setting Spray. Great mister. And it's really luminous. I mean, I feel like my skin looks healthy and dewy right now, but it's not like you know, super tacky or anything like that. No offensive smell, great price. You can get this on their website, I believe, or Ulta, so I will link it down below, but quite impressed with this as well. So that completes this trying new makeup. I'm so happy to be back. Hopefully I can get back on schedule and yeah, just adjust to my new life without my little baby. It's really hard. Like I cry, you know, multiple times a day, but I feel like each day I'm getting a little bit stronger and I'm not just like laying in bed bawling my eyes out all day. So again, thank you guys so much for your patience with me and all your sweet words. I really can't speak about it much because I literally will bawl my eyes out. So I appreciate you guys. Just know that. Let me know down below what you want to see next. I have a ton of new products to use. I'm gonna do, I think I want to do like a will I buy it or a purchase or pass this week. Just so many new products that I'm interested in or some that I'm like absolutely not. So I thought I would kind of just do some easygoing videos just to get back into the swing of things, but I really wanted to play with all this stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you're new. Let me know down below what you want me to review next. I'll see you guys in the next one.